Hello, my fellow individuals. I am Mr. Mini Mask Man here, and today I'm going to review Doctor Strange. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways, you can tell I got my badass Doctor Strange t-shirt for this one. Before I start this review, all I say is a spoiler review, so obviously if you haven't seen the film, then don't watch this video yet until you do, which you definitely should. So I actually recommend that one, so definitely recommend it. Now that I think about it, before I start this review, I just want to say my very first YouTube video ever on this channel was a reaction to the very first teaser of Doctor Strange, and that was quite a while. So man, actually seeing the film now, remembering back for when I started, is just wow. It all started with Doctor Strange. And finally got the privilege to see this film at long last with my folks of mine. And all I can say is just, wow. Let's see, I don't know where to begin on this one. Okay, so, let's see. For this film, what I thought was, I thought actually it was I thought it was a good film. I thought it was actually, I liked it. I really did like it. Now, to be honest, what I say is like the top of Marvel, the MCU films, maybe close to the top, but not there yet, but definitely not at the bottom. Now I'd say probably above the medium, the middle range. So almost close to the top. As far as I can think of, for first time seeing, each of these heroes, like the first time I saw Iron Man 1, or Thor, or Captain America, the Hulk, etc. I would say this one was, it was close to the top, but it's still good. It's not terrible. It's not mediocre. I thought it was still good. So, but yeah, Doctor Strange, the first Marvel hero, and in the MCU at least, that actually introduces more into the magic. No science, no galactic space aliens, no human experimentation, nothing, just pure magic. So, which is one of the first here that we get introduced now. Now, in the film, I kind of remember I did see the animated film of Doctor Strange. I think it was on Netflix one time, or still is. And I would say that this, let's see, to portray Dr. Stephen Strange's character, his main con was about his arrogance. He was this top neurosurgeon. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he's talking about. But he kind of takes too much of his pride into it, where he just kind of acts snobbish, where he thinks, yeah, I know I'm good. I don't need to hear what you say. I don't need any help from these people. I know what I'm doing. I'm the best. And that was that impression I hear, from obviously like from the comics and from the animated movie. But in the movie, in this movie, in the live action one, it felt that arrogance, like you didn't see it as strong, where you're like, geez, this guy's arrogant as hell, or selfish or whatever, He kind of had a little bit of that, typical Marvel humor in there, mixed in, and you kind of see later on a little bit more even after the act. It's like I felt more of his arrogance after the accident happened, where you kind of, where Rachel McAdams' character, I think it was Christina was her name, and she was telling him, about what happened to his fingers, his hands, and he's like, there's no other doctor that could do this, and he's like, well, yeah, me. Meaning like, duh, me, and or also back then, also when he was driving his car, and they were telling him the patients that needed surgery, he was just kind of skipping through, like saying, I don't feel like it, not this one, not this one. He was kind of a little curious on this one, so he was kind of choosy on who he wants to help out. So it's only more, in the end, you kind of see it was more for him, for himself, than helping others per se. Like, yeah, he intentions to help others, but it was more for his own credentials, or he say, yep, that was me, I did all this. But it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't just as strong, like, because I remember in the animated movie, and then I'll be honest, I read a little bit of the comics, just like, well, his origin, maybe not the whole thing, just his origin, I would say, in the just a bit, to understand. And it was more of a serious kind of like, stuck up, nose up arrogance. Where in this one, it was more of a mix of his comedic, has this humor mixed in with that. Now, I think the reason he went full on was because Tony Stark and Iron Man kind of had that personality. Like, he was stuck up as hell and all that, but he was very sarcastic, to Tony Stark. So for him maybe to act too much like that would have been like way too much of a comparison to Tony Stark. So maybe that's why they didn't do it as strong, So they still kept his humor side, but still showed a little bit of like, oh hey, this is his personality. So yeah, and I thought Benedict Cumberbatch did a pretty damn good job on his role on this one. For sure. Now I kind of like that in the beginning when they get through his accident and all that. I kind of felt the pacing was actually a good pacing. It didn't drag too long that I expected. I expected it to drag maybe a little bit longer before the accident, but I'm just glad they just kind of went through it. It's like saying, okay, this is him, this is what he does. You got to get a little bit of his personality, what he does, and then boom, accident happens. So for me, I'm kind of happy that actually they didn't drag way too long on that. It was still per se like an origin movie for Doctor Strange, almost throughout. How he ended up being Sorcerer Supreme. But I felt like I said, mainly during that beginning part, it didn't drag way too long. So I'm glad that they kind of did their pacing pretty well for this one. What else I would say now? I guess so I'm trying not to because obviously this is a spoiler review, so if you're watching this, you already seen it. So for me to describe the scene per scene will be kind of pointless. So I'm trying my best not to do that and waste time, just explaining what happened. So I'm trying to think how to review this per se. I guess I'll just try to break it down as much as I can. Not story wise in scenes, but of what I have to review about, what I have to talk about in this film. Visuals, I already knew that was going to be a straight up 10 out of 10 when it came to the visuals and the effects. Holy crap, it was like Inception times 10, So, I mean, even seeing from the trailers, that's what caught my attention in the first place. And not disappointed, the whole, too much like, cities going like this, buildings twisting, warping reality. It's just like, I'm just glad I didn't see this in 3D, or else I probably would have, or maybe I should have. You know what? I'm not much of a 3D person, I will admit, but I think maybe this would have been one of the exceptions where maybe I should have watched it in 3D just to have that experience. If I'm going to see it the second time in theater somehow with friends or whatever, I'm going to try 3D and see how that goes. I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea, but I did do the, what's it called? Those seats, and sometimes in the, the D-Max or whatever they call it, I forgot, but my folks and I, we watched it today, and we got the seats that were like shaking all like that goes with the movie, or tilts, and it was pretty interesting, especially during the fight scenes and when the world started warping, where it felt like tilt to the left or tilt to the right, started shaking when the ground started shaking. So, and that was actually first time experience for me on those kinds of seats. So it was actually pretty interesting. Pretty interesting experience. Would I do it again? Maybe not, but it was interesting. At least glad I tried it out. So now, so yeah, visuals and all that, perfect, good to go on that. No question on acting on that for sure. So acting as well. Let's see, the message. I would say what they're trying to teach us more about time. Time was like the big factor here with time. The questions of life and death and reality, and opening your mind of your spiritualness, of your spirit, whatever. And I thought it was actually a slightly, I like the message what I was trying to say. It was a completely, somewhat of a different message than what the other ones covered. The other Marvel films try to say, where Thor was more of respect of your folks, your parents, having honor and just being noble. Or same thing with with Iron Man, was same thing for helping others, instead of for greed and pride like that. So you know what I'm talking about. For almost the majority, there's some sort of story or moral or theme in the end, that they try to explain or talk, like with the Ancient, when she was talking to Doctor Strange before sadly she died. But I kind of see why she chose her death this time. Compare where she kept that her immortality by taking energy from the magic from the dark dimension and keep herself, living for quite a while. So, but I would say, yeah, I kind of like the message there on that, which is why, the villain, crap, was it Claudius? Or sorry, the names I might have to, get used to, but I completely forgot. I only know a few of them, so apologize if I don't remember every character's name in this film. So, but yeah, for example, when he was talking to Strange during their first fight, what he's trying to do, at least in his mind, he was trying to do the right thing. He thinks he was doing the right thing by, mixing the dark dimension with the world, with the Earth in this dimension or world, with mixing it with that, so Dormammu would grant people immortality and live long in life, no death, nothing. And we kind of get that, there's some villains that we already seen that before, whether it's on film or television, anime, whatever, that kind of try to do the same thing. So he was kind of like one of those villains where he thinks he's trying to do the right thing, but obviously he's not. He's going through, he's killing people and all that to try to get his plan complete. So I guess you can kind of see it like around there. I think even one time when you look closely, he had a tear, just one tear drop when he was talking to Doctor Strange. How the Ancient One gave him the truth and tried to withhold that information from him, so that only she could use it for her own, according to him, for her own selfish reasons. So that's why he betrayed her. He became a zealot for Dormammu, thinking he's the rightful one to do the job. He says basically he's claiming that Dormammu's the good one, while the Ancient One's the bad one. But obviously, typical is not really. So he's just kind of been misled because she withheld that information. Now, what I kind of liked about this one, villain-wise, so for that kind of villain, like I said, the majority of MCU villains don't really, not as memorable, to be honest. But, so, he was, to be honest, not much, but it was one of these villains that you kind of see his perspective of what he tried to do for the greater good. I mean, it wasn't maybe too convincing, because obviously, like, even Doctor Strange made a joke about him. I mean, just look at your face, look at your eyes. It's like, and you're thinking you're working for the good guys. But, that part made me laugh. I kind of like the humor in this one. I mean, all of Marvel MCU, they always had to add the humor in there. But I think most of the time it was actually necessary humor that I thought. It felt, and it didn't feel forced. There may be a few parts that definitely did feel forced, but the majority of times I actually thought it felt natural. And to be honest, I did not expect that much humor from Doctor Strange, because when I was thinking, it's like, well, this Doctor Strange is a completely different, compared to his character in the animated film and a little bit in the comics, I'd expected it to be more of a humorous side, but they kind of put it in there with Benedict Cumberbatch, trying to act it out on his role, and it actually felt right for once, and when these rare occasions, it actually did feel right. And like I said, and a few times, yeah, there was obvious where it's like they just had to add it there first, for the sake of humor. But for the most part, it felt natural. So I actually wasn't really bothered too much with the humor this time from the MCU film. So I thought, humor-wise, it was pretty good. They kind of knew most of the parts, their limits, when to add them and when not to add them. Well, in some occasions, obviously. So I thought, that was pretty cool. Now, the fights, the magic, with the portals and all that, I kind of like. I really did love how they, they're using magic with the hand signs and, and the circles and the seals and all that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, the thing that got me a little bit confused, well, not confused, I should say that, but that didn't really define well is when Doctor Strange was training, to learn magic and all that. I don't know how long it passed. I mean, I didn't really give that much of an idea how long it passed, but it kind of felt like almost during the training process, it kind of felt quick that he started to learn, how to open portals and easily started to learn everything, at a time. It didn't feel like, it felt like he just learned things quick. Like once he finally learned to do one thing, it felt like immediately he started learning everything else just like that, like at his astral projection and most importantly, the Eye of sorry, I forgot the name. You know what I'm talking about. Where this is where he started to learn how to control time, and that was his biggest factor. Now, once I saw when it opened, I already knew. I was like saying, "There's the Infinity Stone." Like immediately, once that when that started opening, the pendant and all that, and it started glowing green, I'm like, "There it is." And it had to do with time, which remember, now we're left with one Infinity Stone left to see. It was left with time and soul. So obviously, time now has been finally revealed. So Doctor Strange now has that over there, and we're just left now with the Soul Gem. And I think maybe they might reveal the Soul Gem in Thor Ragnarok, since everybody dies and all that. So there's got to be a way for them to come back, and I assume the Soul Gem might do the trick. Maybe. I think that's where they might reveal the last Infinity Stone before the Infinity Wars. Where Thanos' big debut as the top villain in the MCU or Marvel in general, easily one of the top OP villains, thanks to the Gauntlet, of course. But anyways, so I thought, let's see, what was interesting, I think here, not the villain, not the main villain, but it was kind of, it felt like they were developing also a villain in the end, which is Mordor. Again, sorry for mispronunciation. So I'm gonna be butchering the name. So correct me if I'm wrong all the time here. I'm completely cool with that. But anyways, like he was, he was believed what the Ancient One did. He did everything what she said. He followed. He never questioned her back. Until when the villain and Doctor Strange were exchanging words, and he was telling her about the secret of what the Ancient One's been doing with the Dark Dimension. And then when he told Mordor about that, he didn't believe it. And then, until when the Ancient fought with him, which I thought was pretty cool. That's a pretty cool fight scene. He kind of was like, you are using the Dark Dimension to gain this power. So he felt betrayed and lied to. That she withheld that information. And he started blaming her because she did that to him, to the villain. That's why he became a villain. Because he didn't tell him the truth. And he kind of went through this direction. So he started thinking and denying, like, I don't know who to believe anymore. Until that final fight with Doctor Strange needed his help. But he was still kind of doubting himself. So it was an interesting take where it kind of developed, like, this future villain, which we'll see in the sequel, Mordor. And I think for the animated movie, I knew, like, saying, well, this guy's a bad guy. So when he came in the movie, in the trailer, I kind of already knew that. It's like, well, he looks familiar. And I think when they released the official trailer, I'm going to say, well, there's the villain. But then they showed the other villain, like, oh, so he's the bad guy. So I was kind of confused, like, wait. But, okay, now it made sense. They're developing him to become the villain in the sequel of Doctor Strange. And I kind of like where he kind of felt where he was more lawful good. Or I think, I would say lawful good. And then he turned up to, chaotic, not lawful neutral, but will you put him in lawful neutral, how he ended up? Because basically what happened, at the very, very end of the credits, when he found that guy that, that he couldn't, he was paralyzed, he couldn't walk, but now he can, he took his magic, and he's completely, all crippled and paralyzed again. So, because what happened was, after when they defeated the villain and Dormammu and all that, he decided to stay, he doesn't want to be part of this anymore with Doctor Strange, he's going to join his own path. So he had his time to think, and he came with a resolution that, you know what? He said, well, there's enough. All these sorts have been breaking the rules and all that. There's nobody following the rules. And I think the reason why, as he took the magic away from him, so I just need to there's too many sorcerers. So in other words, he's going to try to eliminate all the sorcerers, because he thinks now, what he's doing, he thinks he's doing the right thing. So if I get rid of all these sorcerers, he thinks they're abusing the magic. That's what I believe he's thinking. He thinks they're breaking the rules, they're abusing it too much for their own selfish reasons. So I might as well get rid of them. Get rid of all the sorcerers. or I guess, get rid of him, kill him, whatever, just to decrease it to say, and then that way there could only be one or two, hell, I don't know, but he's very extremely limited, or just him, so he can do the right thing. So he says, so I can be the rightful Sorcerer Supreme, or Sorcerer in general. So obviously, Doctor Strange is gonna have to deal with him later. Now, what to say? The only things I was kind of was when they revealed Dormammu. When they revealed Dormammu, it felt, what they did with him visually, it was probably not one of my favorites. It felt like too, I don't know, like not too digitalized, but just, I expected more like the actor, the face in the flame and all that. Like, I liked it more intimidating. This one was just like a very big angry face, digitalized. That's all I saw when I saw Dormammu. I kind of felt I really thought they could have done him a bit better, honestly, for how Dormammu looked. Personally, that's what they could have done better on that, at least. So that's probably one of my only few negatives on that, is just they could have done Dormammu look more intimidating, more scarier, and all that, just almost, compared to his comic book, what he looked like in the comics. But hey, at least it's not, as they didn't pull a Galactus, or else that would have been, goddamn. I'm just glad I didn't pull a Galactus. You know what I'm talking about. So at least they didn't went that route. So I guess that's a slight step up. But I think they, by this time they could have done it better. To be honest, Dormammu. Now, what I liked was how Doctor Strange, defeated the villains. It was a little bit anticlimactic, but it was hilarious as hell and kind of clever in a way. Where Doctor Strange's like, you know what? It's like, I have an idea. When they talked about that time doesn't exist, it goes beyond time. So he went to the dark dimension, encountered Dormammu, and he's like, Dormammu, I have a bargain. I want to make a bargain, or something like that. And he kills him immediately. And because he had the time ready, from his amulet or whatever, the Eye of, God, I forgot the name, but the Eye of whatever, he already was resetting time back every time. It was an infinite loop, and Dormammu's was like, what's going on? And then he says, yeah, I can do this all day. It's like impossible. It's like, you're gonna get tired. You're gonna get killed every time. You want to do this forever? It's like, well, for you, from preventing, destroying the Earth or whatever. And then he kept dying and dying and dying and kept saying the same words. It was an infinite loop. So I thought that was pretty funny, pretty clever. So it wasn't like a badass way to defeat a villain or anything. It definitely wasn't, but I thought it was kind of a funny way. And until he made the bargain at the end, where Dormammu got tired, and he's like saying, "Okay, what do you want?" because of this infinite loop, Dormammu can't do anything. He can't go and do what he had to do. He was going to be stuck in that infinite time loop forever with Doctor Strange. So he said, "You know what? Take your zealots and just get the hell out of here. Don't come back to Earth again." And there you go. So that was that. And that's how he got basically everything in one. He got rid of Dormammu, at least for now, and the zealots or whatever. The main villain in the film, and his followers. So I thought that was actually pretty funny and kind of witty or clever in that part. So, but definitely nothing too like badass or what he did. But I thought it was kind of funny. I actually laughed a lot on that one. So I thought that was pretty clever. But God, what else I can think of? The astral project. I think the best fight for me, honestly, was the astral projection one, because it was kind of cool how him and one of the zealot followers were fighting, and while Rachel McAdams was trying to, or Christine, her character Christine, tried to revive Doctor Strange. They're fighting all over in the hospital, and there's little bit things moving here and there. We're kind of questions. You see something moving from some strange object just moving, I'm gonna assume maybe some people are having an astral projection fight somewhere in my house. So, but I actually thought that was pretty cool. An astral projection fight was pretty tight, so I like that, and I kind of like that the cape, the cape of levitation had its own persona and character like that. It was almost like the what do you call it? Like the funny like the comic relief, but not the. It's like okay, like Guardians of the Galaxy had Groot, you know. What else I could think of? I don't know if I count Iron Man when he had Jarvis in the beginning before the whole Vision thing, but kind of like those non-human what's it called? Not characters, but that are these objects or animals or whatever that have their own little mini personality, but it kind of like takes away like a lot of good humor from it. So it felt like a comic relief, and it had a funny persona that you'll remember. So it's kind of funny that like Ant-Man with was it Anthony? Like stuff like that, like those. You know what I'm talking about. So it felt like the cape was actually pretty funny, especially when he was freaking banging that guy in the head a lot. So I thought it was pretty funny. The cape has his own personality, so that was pretty cool. And then I guess what else? I think what I could think of, I would say action-wise, I thought it was pretty original for MCU that they've done yet. I mean, in other films they probably already went there, but I mean, for Marvel, I thought the fight scenes with magic and the warping of reality with with portals and all that, it was pretty tight. So I thought the action there was pretty good and original for the MCU since they're introducing magic now there. So I thought that was pretty well, and the let's see, like I said, humor was been placed right. The pacing was like I said, it was actually not bad. It felt right. It didn't feel too slow, and it feel like they rushed a lot of things. Like I said, except for maybe Doctor Strange's training. I did not know how long it took for him to learn. It felt quick. To be honest, I did feel kind of quick, like he learned everything. It felt like he only learned everything like a few weeks. But maybe time went longer. I just didn't know. So that was the only thing. But I'm kind of glad they didn't drag this training too long either. So I don't want it to drag it forever to say it took him this much and this much and this much until he finally got it. But I thought maybe at least they would have told like how much time has passed. Without using the big ass fonts like they did with Civil War, where it's like, here's Germany, like the whole screen. Not like that either, but some idea where time has passed. They didn't really show how much time has passed for his training to learn, all the magic that he's learned. So I thought maybe they would have done something a little bit there for me to understand that time, how long it took him to learn the magic and so forth. But overall, I thought the pacing was done well. The love interest, I actually thought it wasn't in the way, and it didn't really take away from me from the movie, like the majority when the MCU where they just have to add a love interest, like the stuff with Thor, or what was it? Did Iron Man took away? Not really. Yeah, not much on Iron Man, but almost the majority where there's just that have to put that love interest, and there's some parts where it just kind of felt like, yeah, we get it, you're gonna fall in love with her, she's gonna fall of him around 2/3 of the movie, stuff like that. They didn't really push too much on that. I'm kind of glad they didn't. It was maybe one or two scenes where you kind of felt that, but that was about it. So I'm glad they didn't really push too much on the love interest. It didn't get in the way, really. So I'm glad they didn't went too far on that. So I thought that was good. And I thought I kind of liked this Doctor Strange's movie version, where it kind of has this very comedic, not very comedic, but his humor felt natural with his persona, where it wasn't, like I said, too much like Tony Starkish, where he's like that sarcastic, very stuck-up sarcastic humor, but it was like his own for his character, and it fitted just right. So I kind of like this Doctor Strange that they're doing. So I liked it. And then, like I said, I kind of like the idea where it also helped develop this other character to become the villain, and so forth. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Like I say, oh, okay. So that's how we kind of see this idea why he's becoming like this. So we're obviously going to see in a future Doctor Strange 2 sequel, or maybe he's going to be in Avengers Infinity War somewhere just shoved in there. I don't know. But it made sense. And then, okay, the mid-credit scene where Doctor Strange was talking to Thor. I thought that was I thought that was actually pretty interesting. So Thor's from another world, obviously. Well, what we see for the Thor films, and they had a conversation where Thor brought Loki to Earth, and he was asking Doctor Strange to find Odin, somewhere, and then to take back Loki, and Doctor's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Now, the place where it takes place, I don't know if that's before Ragnarok, which it wouldn't... I don't know if it was before Ragnarok or immediately after Thor 2, the Dark World. This is the placement, I don't know when is that taking place, because he's like, it brought Loki to Earth and Odin's missing. So obviously, it's immediately after the second one, but I don't know if this is like between the second and Ragnarok, where he's already going to find him, and maybe when Ragnarok begins, like, everything's been uncovered. It's like, okay, Loki's captured because I found Odin thanks to Doctor Strange or something. Or it's going to happen maybe somewhere in the movie where he'll discover that around the middle, and then they'll just kind of make a Doctor Strange quick appearance that he'll help him find him. I don't know. But I thought that was a pretty interesting connection between him and Thor. So, but it made sense though, since Thor is from another world and Doctor Strange deals with other worlds and dimensions, whatnot. So, it made sense why they did that with Thor, because you always just like the scene where you see Tony Stark and Bruce Banner almost always, or Nick Fury and Captain America, stuff like that. You have these two characters that always have some connection somewhere involved in there. So it made sense with Thor and Doctor Strange. Out of all the heroes that I can think of in the MCU, it made sense why he would help Thor and all that. So speaking of that, I guess the timeline for Doctor Strange, because if it takes place after Thor 2, was this before the Civil War? I might have to rethink where the timeline for Doctor Strange came out with. I remember there was... God, which one? Which movie was it? I think it was Winter Soldier, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Winter Soldier, where they mention, a little Easter egg of Doctor Strange. So, then that means it was during Winter Soldier? Or a little bit before? I might have to look back on that, because I don't know exactly where Doctor Strange is in the timeline. Like, what part of the event did he happen? Was it after Ultron or before, or before Civil War, after Civil War, immediately? I don't think it's after Civil War, to be honest, but I know it's got to be for sure after it's the second Thor: The Dark World. But I think it's going to be before Ragnarok, so it's almost like that in between those events. So I might have to look again and check the release of the movies and see where the timeline flows. And, unless, Doctor Strange decides to, turn back time, but... But I don't know. So, anyways, about that. So I thought that both of the credit scenes were pretty interesting. So they're actually pretty good ones. I don't know if there's anything else I can think of that I would say. Well, honestly, can't really think of much anymore. I think I pretty much covered what I had to say. I'm trying to rethink it. Hopefully, I'm not missing something that I wanted to say out there, any missing info, but I guess just to quickly recap, and maybe I might catch something. If not, then I'll just finish it here. So, visuals and effects, perfect. The moral of the story, the theme, or the lesson, I thought was it was a pretty good, interesting one that they talked about, and compared to the rest of the MCU films. Let's see, the action, I think the action was original. It might not have been like the best badass action you'll see, but it's definitely different, and it fitted well with this, the whole magic realm and Doctor Strange. So I thought it was pretty cool, interesting action scenes in there, what they did. Villain, he was okay. He wasn't the worst villain that easily we know what a waste of time, but him, I guess with him and Dormammu, Dormammu I said was my only probably disappointment, was just the way they've done him. But besides that, villain wise, I would say not. It's okay. Like I kind of the intentions I thought were interesting of why he was doing it, but obviously it was the wrong intent. Well, good intentions, just the wrong way he was doing it. So, but besides that, he was all right. He was okay. So we got that there. Minimal love interest, no too much romance or whatever. I thought that was good. The pacing for the majority part was actually well done. So I'm glad the pacing didn't bother. There wasn't part where it was like way too slow or they were just going quick where there's no development in time. Except for one part that I mentioned, well, the whole training thing. But besides that, I thought the pacing was done well for this film. And Doctor Strange as himself with the abilities, the powers, they revealed, the fifth Infinity Stone. The other characters I thought everything was well done there. And then, like I said, one of the only interesting things I liked, what that was different, was actually is also help developing the future villain throughout, where we kind of understand where he's coming from and why what he's going to do eventually, in the second Doctor Strange film, or whichever's future MCU film. So I thought that was interesting as well. So overall, I thought this one was actually pretty well. It might have been the most like, holy crap, what an experience. Except for the visuals, I thought that where I was like, damn, what an experience. But a movie as a whole, I would say it wasn't like I said, the top like golden, MCU films like back then when we first watched. But then again, I don't know, it's maybe because we've watched so many Marvel films that the hype is just not. It's not maybe not living it anymore, but we're expecting way too much now because there's some that are just as good or better, and then because our hype is slowly building up, we kind of see some other movies that just kind of like, it could have been better. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it was one of those cases, but it was definitely a bit different than the rest. So I give it that. So, like I said, maybe not have been like too holy crap overexcited like that, where I had adrenaline and all that, but I still thought it was a good film. It was definitely something worth watching and paying your ticket for. So I honestly would say that. So I would say it's a good movie. It is a good movie. Now, and I think that's pretty much it. So what would I rate this movie? Now that I think about it, I would give it maybe... Man. I might take a second watch, because sometimes I either take a second watch or I think it as days pass by to give me... Because sometimes I might give a rating now, and then in the future it might either go slightly higher when I watch it again or think about it, or slightly lower. So I could go one or the other. I don't think it's going to go lower for me. I think it might stay around the same or just slightly higher. Depending when I watch it the second time, I might give my official rating. But for now, as a first time watch, I'd give it between an 8.5 or 9 out of 10. So let's just safely say the generous rating of 9 out of 10 for now. So I would give Doctor Strange a 9 out of 10 just because it was something. It felt with a different type of hero, and I think for the most part I got everything right. It may not have been too exciting and all that, but it was like everything was run smoothly. I think so for the most part. Like I said, there wasn't too many things where I kind of felt like there wasn't too much disappointment or too much like, oh, it's been done before kind of deal. I mean, there is some parts like that, but it's not almost throughout. So that's why I think I would give Doctor Strange here for now, between 8.5, 9, and 10. So 9 out of 10 I would give it so far. Unless over time I change my mind. But for now, 9 out of 10. So yeah, I would say it was definitely a good movie, an interesting new hero that we're getting introduced now to the MCU. So all we got left besides we're getting a new Guardians of the Galaxy sequel, Thor Ragnarok coming. We're also getting Spider-Man Homecoming, so now we're going to see how this Spider-Man works out. Like, I already saw him a bit in Civil War, so now we're going to see how he does solo, Tom Holland playing the role. And I think they just announced that Michael Keaton is now officially the Vulture. So can't wait to see the new Spider-Man. And then I believe the following would be Black Panther. I believe Black Panther, Captain Marvel, if I'm not mistaken. and then I believe Infinity War. So it was 2018, and then 2019 for the second part. So yeah, so can't wait for down the road for that one. So awesomeness. So I think that's all I gotta say for now on that. So I would say, yeah, give it a watch if you haven't seen it. Well, if you haven't seen it, then I pretty much spoiled the whole movie for you right here. But obviously that's what I think. Well, I don't know what you guys thought. You can if you want, leave comments below if I missed some stuff, or thoughts that I haven't even thought of yet, or Easter eggs that I missed. I probably missed some major Easter eggs, especially when it comes to heroes or characters that I haven't really gotten too familiar with from comics or from TV shows or from animated movies. So definitely drop by those in the comments or whatever. Or if you have a different opinion and why, I'll be glad to hear it or read it. So, whatever. So, but alright, I think that's all I gotta say. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and if you like the video, you know what to do. So, as I always say, I hope you guys have a nice day.